And what's going on, everybody? Hope that you're doing well. It has been a minute since I have been live, and I'm actually back here in the DMV. And the DMV, some people ask, well, what is the DMV? That means DC, Maryland, Virginia in the United States. And yeah, so anyway, I wanted to, and this is going to be actually the beginning of some discussions that we're going to be having. As far as over the past 12 months, I have spent 6 of the past 12 months on the continent of Africa, been to 10 different countries, and had the opportunity to just have a transformative experience, if you will. Hey, what's going on, Andre? What's going on? Reston, Virginia. All right. That's DMV too. You out there a little bit though. You out there out 66, I believe. So yeah. So I wanted to, and obviously for people who are watching later, couple things we have going on before we get started. Always be sure to like, subscribe, share. Make sure you click that subscribe button, share, because this is how we continue to bridge the gap and get more information out. We're able to tell our own stories, dispel a lot of the myths and a lot of things that's circulating and have been circulating for a long time because of platforms like this, and others have platforms like this who are telling the different stories from what we've heard. I also want to let you know before I get into this that I'm doing something really special. We just got our trademark for the children's books, The Adventures of Darren and Destiny. And so this is Tanzania, this is Ghana, and right behind that we have Zanzibar. Ghana was the first one, Tanzania was the second one, and then we have the Zanzibar book. All 3 books, and this is for a limited time only. So if you're watching this later, this offer might not be available, but all 3 books in the bundle, all right? All 3 books in the bundle, we are offering for $25 and free shipping until December 16th, 2021. That is what we're doing because it is so important for our, not just our children, but for our adults to start getting some more information about these different places on the continent of Africa. And just since we released the information yesterday, I mean, they've been flying out here, and actually, you're getting signed copies. So these just aren't just books going out. I'm actually signing these books, and you still have time if you want to give them as a gift. You still have time to do so. So what you want to do is go to bit.ly Darren and Destiny bundle. Bit.ly Darren and Destiny bundle. You can see it right below, and you can actually make that purchase. But make sure you don't delay. Make sure you do it today. All 3 books, $25 and free shipping. You cannot beat that deal. And that's us celebrating getting the trademark for The Adventures of Darren and Destiny. We're going to be doing so many things with that. We have live productions. We have animations. We have, I don't want to say too much, because y'all know how folks are, but we have a lot coming down the pike with The Adventures of Darren and Destiny. And they're going to be educating so many people about the continent of Africa, but not just that, other things along the way. And what we're going to do with this whole Darren and Destiny brand and franchise is going to be spectacular. I can guarantee you that when you see it. So be a part of it, and don't just get one bundle, get multiple bundles. If you know other people who, maybe you want to take it to a library in your community, maybe you want to take it to your church, maybe you want to take it to, maybe you have several different young people from ages 5+ that can benefit from learning some good information about the different places in Africa, different countries, different cultures. All of that is a part of how we're introducing The Adventures of Darren and Destiny to the world. All right. And I even wrote a theme song. He even brought me out of brought me back to my songwriting, and wrote the theme. How do a man say back in the, you want to hear it? Here it go. Sound a little something like this.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with
All right. All right. All right. So let's see here. The let me see. Let me hop over here real quick. All right. All right, cool. So what I want to talk about a little bit are some of my thoughts after spending 6 out of the past 12 months in Africa. So it all started in was like November of last year. It really started before that because when COVID kicked in, we had a big 2020 planned. And with this big 2020 planned, you can imagine that um once everything there we go once everything kicked in or shut down rather, 2020 was a bust. So 2019 we started introducing our tours and taking people to the continent. 2020 came, shut everything down, so I had to make a decision. I said, well, am I going to sit around and wait until everything goes away and then start, or am I going to take advantage of this moment, lay the foundation, establish the relationships, and really be prepared for when this goes away? So I decided in October of last year that I was going to go for it. I wasn't going to sit around and wait and be held hostage, pretty much held hostage, especially if I had the ability to go and make some different moves and do what I knew I needed to do. So first stop went to Tanzania and established the foundation in Tanzania. So guess what? We're going to Tanzania in July of this year. I mean, next year, I'm sorry, July 2022, because of what I did in 2020. So went there and had the opportunity to get that squared away. Went to Cote d'Ivoire, which is also known as the Ivory Coast, and when things loosen up a little bit more, we'll introduce what we'll be doing in Cote d'Ivoire. That's a francophone country, so I think that's really cool to be able to incorporate that into what we've been doing. We've been primarily going to English speaking countries, but I do want to introduce the francophone or the French speaking countries to this because genetically, it's all these borders are all like artificial borders that were made up, and so either the French or the British or the Portuguese. I think Spanish have one. Germany got in there a little bit. Italy got in there a little bit. So you begin to see that. But with that said, then went to Ghana for a couple of weeks and established the relationships in Ghana, which laid the groundwork for us to have 8 successful tours this year in 2021. Had I not done that, had I waited, none of what happened in 2021 would have happened. Wouldn't have met the people that I met in 2021, would not have had the experiences, would not have been, wouldn't have dual citizenship. Just a lot would not have happened had I waited until everything supposedly, hey Stephanie, what's going on? Got better. And I'll tell you, it's a different world on the continent. What's happening here in America and what's going on over there. And I know they talk about the Omari. I'm being the Omarion. Everybody's like, don't bring Omarion back. I was like, Indian concert somewhere. Anyway, but the Omicron or whatever it is, they were like, well, that's over in Africa. I said, well, that's kind of like Southern Africa, and like where I've been was Northern Africa and East Africa and West Africa. That's the equivalent of saying, hey, don't bring, and really they need to be saying that about what's going on over here. Something happening in California, but then somehow Florida gets blamed for it. That's kind of like, and that's not kind of, that's the equivalent of what it is. So something happening in Mozambique is now suddenly being tied to what's going on in Nigeria or something like that. And that just kind of speaks to the level of ignorance as it comes to as it comes to the continent of Africa, and how how much we need to learn, about, and how we also need to filter information when it comes to us, because sometimes it's really unfortunate. I mean, I had more people telling me to be careful and to be safe when I was in Africa, and I'm like, yo, y'all the ones dealing with this is happening over there in Texas, or Florida, and that's, y'all need to have a travel ban to Texas and Florida. That's what needs to be going on, and it was just a different. I think I was able to get. I don't think I was affected by COVID. When I say this, meaning the stress of it all, because of the when I was on the continent, they took it seriously when it first hit in the first place, but then, once things started lightening up, it just didn't spread around. It just wasn't happening like that there. It just wasn't. I mean, it just wasn't. And so that was one part that the realization. I think another realization is how information is shared, or the type of information is shared, because you have CNN over there. I saw CNN, but this is like a different kind of CNN. It wasn't the same CNN. Sometimes I'd catch the same CNN, and then other times it would be a different kind of CNN, like CNN focused on Africa, and then, or sometimes you just get the regular, regular U.S. CNN. So it was like, okay, so you kind of saw the difference in that. But my thoughts after coming back and having spent the past, or let me, it's on and off. It wasn't like 6 months straight. It was, I'd be there, maybe 3 weeks and then come back, or yeah, but it would be kind of like 10 days and I'd come back, 10 days, come back. And then I had the stretch over the summer where I was there for like 2 months. And then this last stretch was like 2.5 months. So my thoughts are this: I'm so glad I didn't wait until now, because if I waited, then I'd be afraid of the Omarion that's going on, and or I'd be, and so that pushed me back 2 years, and I realized, and I can only speak for me. I can't speak for anybody else, and each person has to do what they have to do for themselves. But I know for me, I knew that was a window, and I look at life through. It's like, this is a window, and now am I going to? This is a window to go through, or door to go through, or is it a door to go ahead and close and let it be? Because every door is not meant for you to go through. I knew that period of time was a door to go through, and what I saw when I was there, it resonated with me in such a way that I will never forget it. And I know one culture shock aspect of being on the continent is that I had to become more aggressive. I realized how nice I was, because I'd be standing in line. Hey, go ahead. Y'all know how it is on this side. Hey, go ahead. Go ahead. Over there, yeah, you can go ahead. You'll be standing in the back of the line all day. So I figured it out. Okay, so I had to be more aggressive. I had to sharpen my negotiation skills, and it was a lot of understanding the cultures and not taking offense to the cultures. And like when I was in Egypt, a young lady, I guess she had to be every bit of like maybe 13, 14. She was trying to sell me like a little thing of a little thing of Kleenex. And I didn't need the little thing of Kleenex. And because I spent so much time on the continent, I was pretty well versed in how this thing went down. But what I was not prepared for was for her to grab my arm and walk with me around the store, in essence trying to get me to buy this thing of Kleenex. And so the guy I was with, he was like, oh, he was in shock. I was like, well, hey, it is what it is. It's no big deal. I got this. And so I was like, no, I'm cool. I don't need I don't need anything, so I'm good. And so she kept, she was persistent, and finally it was just like, no. Once I said no, that was it. It was a no, and that was it. So those are just the different things that I learned. I was told, everybody said, don't go to Nigeria, it's bad in Nigeria. had the best time in Nigeria. So, I mean, it's like those types of things. You begin to uh, you begin to learn all of these different. It's like, yeah, there may be, there's going to be a level of truth to when people um say certain things, but I think for me, I take away from the past 12 months not to think monolithically. I think that is probably the number one lesson that I walk away with, and to take it case by case by case by case. Because if I just lump everybody together, those Egyptians, those Nigerians, those Ghanaians, those Kenyans, then I would miss out, especially if I'm listening to somebody who has something negative to say. I would miss out. I would have missed out on, I don't know if 2021 or 20 or 2019, either one of those are probably two most transformative years of my life. I think I'm gonna have to lean to 21 because I spent time immersing myself in the cultures, and it was kind of funny because when I was in Kenya last week, and I'm still on Kenya time, my clock is like 5 o'clock in the morning right now. But it was funny because a lady walked up to me, and I was talking to somebody else, I guess like somebody who's American who's living in Kenya, and we were just talking about different things. And I was saying, yeah, I take bring tours over, and this is what I've been doing. And so this lady came over to make a point, say, you don't know anything, you don't know nothing, you don't know anything, and whatever you telling them people, you don't know. So I'm just kind of looking, I'm just kind of like, okay. And this coming from a sister, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I was like, okay. And so she proceeded to try to school me on what I did not know, because she was like, well, I've been coming over here for the better half of 40 years, and you've been coming over here 3 years. What do you know? So I was like, okay. I said, here we go. So I listen and I listen, and everything she's telling me, I could like tell her, but I go along with the flow because I know how folks need, I know how it goes. So then it finally got to the point where she was trying to tell me about Francophone countries. And she was trying to say, well, the French, they left their countries in better shape than the British. I said, well, actually, that might be the case if you refer to Cote d'Ivoire or Senegal. I said, but if you look at the history of the French and what the French actually did to their colonies, it would tell a very different story. If you talk to Haiti, if you talk to Benin and Togo and Guinea, I say you would get a very different. And then she was like, "Whoa!" And so at that point, then the conversation started shifted a little bit. But but those are things that you kind of you kind of go with it, and you just kind of laugh because you encounter those types of moments. But you just say, hey, it is what it is. This is what the deal is, and this is how we do it. So what I encourage people to do is not thinking monolithically, taking it case by case, and then not waiting. Had I waited, that's what I keep coming back to. Had I waited, all of the people that I met on the 8 tours that I did this year, I would not have met. Or maybe I would have. I don't know. But the way the timing looked out, the way the timing broke down, and the way that everybody explained it to me, it just would not have happened because of just what was going on in their life. And, who knows what comes around the corner. You don't know what's going to happen. So, and the other thing that I realized is that I saw people, when I saw so many people from Asia fearlessly walking around, building their businesses and living their lives and doing what they do. I was like, wow, they're enjoying their life, living their life, doing their thing. I saw so many people from Europe just living their life, doing their thing, and they're just not gripped by fear. And I'm thinking about the conversations that I'm having back in America, and people have kind of trying to come in. And I'm saying, what is this fear thing? How is it that so many people can be so easily spooked to the point of paralysis? But I'm watching other people just flow, and while they're flowing, they're dominating and they're taking advantage of opportunities. And I said, now who do I want to be like? Do I want to be like the person that's gripped by fear and paralyzed by fear? Or do I want to be like the person who is being wise because they were uh, walking around? Okay, hold on here. Okay, hold on. Um, they were, let me just double, okay. They were walking around with like little hazmat suits on and everything. And the there we go. Hey, what's going on, Linda? And hey, what's going on, Deshaun? I'm flipping back over. I'm able to hop back over and see see where folks are. But they were, and you know what? And somebody put fear of what? I don't know. I just think fear of traveling. I think they were probably fear of catching the Rona over in Africa somewhere. Because y'all know, anytime you talk about Africa, somebody this disease. So if there's a disease floating around, even though it didn't come from there, somehow in their mind they're going to associate disease in Africa. And I mean, I just heard a lot of different things, and I said to myself, when you're there and you're looking around and you're among the people, it's a completely different vibe, completely different. And I think that's the other thing that really, I built up this resistance to just taking people's opinions and running with it. You know, I don't dismiss people's opinions, but I just don't go with their opinion. Oh yeah, you know, I don't know if you need to go on over there because I don't know. You might, hey man, them, they don't like us over there. That's the other thing. They don't like us over there. I'm like, they don't. It's almost a billion people, and a billion people just don't like. I mean, it's that type of thinking that I was telling somebody yesterday. I was so embarrassed. I said I used to be the person who would give money for people to go to Africa, but I wouldn't go to Africa myself. You wouldn't catch 10 years ago, 11 years ago. You would not catch me think about no plane. I was already thinking I had to take about 12 shots. I was like, look, y'all going over there and help them poor people, and they need, you know, to take the book bags over there and take some clothes and shoes, and you know, let's do our good deeds, and that's it. And oh, how, and now the joke, the running joke is the people who were trying to get me to go. I said, you remember when y'all couldn't get me to go? They're like, yeah, but do you live over there now? Do you live in Africa? I said, no, I don't live in Africa. I said, I'm making up for lost time. And I have to say that that's a part of the reason why I'm so intentional about encouraging people to visit, because it's like, I know I get it now. I'm gonna break down some stuff on Friday night about this whole independence of Barbados, the perceived independence of Barbados, and the perceived independence of Ghana, and the perceived independence of Nigeria, and the perceived independence of Cote d'Ivoire, and the perceived independence of Tanzania or Kenya, and the perceived independence, you know, and I say perceived for a reason. I'm gonna talk about the perceived independence and how this whole thing works, because I think it's going to be very fascinating once you understand how this whole thing works. It will it'll make sense, and you'll even be able to tie it back in for those who are in the US or the UK or Canada. You'll see some parallels in the systems of what's happening on the continent of Africa, and even in these respective countries. So now another thought is, how have I changed? I already talked about being more aggressive, but also not just being more aggressive, but being more aware. So when I came back and I went down south, I went down to Charleston and Savannah, I was now more aware of the connection between the two. And you know, I'll often reference this whole movement where people are trying to say the slave trade never happened, and you know, we're not from Africa, and I'll say this very plainly, that is a direct reflection of how a colonized mind has gone bad, and has gone even to a greater extent of confusion. And that's exactly what they wanted to happen, because when your identity is affected, and if you perceive your identity, if you're thinking, oh, slaves, I'm not a descendant of no slave, I ain't no slave. But when you only have that narrative and you're seeing it negatively without understanding the broader context, then of course you're going to grasp for anything to try to say, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not, I'm not this, I'm really this, and I'm really that. And for real, we're like, the African diaspora is a melting pot. So you can really claim it all. If you want to claim indigenous, claim that. If you want to claim Africa, you can claim that. If you want to claim Europe, you can claim that too. A lot of us can claim Asia too. That's just the way the melting pot happened. But and I think when I talk about being aware, when I was in Sierra Leone and I watched how they flowed in Sierra Leone, I said, wow, that is very similar to how they operate in Charleston and Savannah in the Low Country. Now, that's not something, that's just natural culture and how people flow and how they operate. It is what it is. When I went to Savannah, after I was spending all this time in West Africa, and I saw the Adinkra symbols on the old cotton factory right down there by the water, when I saw the Adinkra symbols there, and then when I saw the Hausa masonry, I said, okay, now this is not just happening just because somebody just felt good. I said, somebody had to be intentional about putting those symbols up there for a reason. And so when you begin to start seeing these things, it just kind of throws all that other stuff out of the water. You don't even need DNA for this. Some things you don't even need DNA for. You can just look and say, oh, okay. DNA helps to confirm a lot of things, but some things you just don't need DNA for. When I went to the Nigerian village outside of Beaufort, South Carolina, a full-blown Nigerian village, a Yoruba village, I should say, more to be more specific, and to kind of take some of the colonized references out of it. The Yoruba village outside of Beaufort, South Carolina. I said, wait a minute, this right here is something that all my years, I was born in Charleston, and all the time in the Low Country, South Carolina, I never knew about that village. So I had to get to this point in my life to learn about this village. So that tells me that there's a lack of education, and it could have something to do with not wanting to be associated with, because when you understand the hand of the colonizer and how the colonizer worked, always pitting those that they were colonizing against one another, looking for cultural differences, looking for ethnic differences, looking for skin complexion differences, any type of difference that could cause someone to feel inferior or superior. That's what they would use in order to continue to move their agenda forward, whatever that might have been. Something that's important to understand as well is when it comes to the world operates on trade. That's how the world operates. But what many of us have been conditioned to do is to operate based upon skin color, based upon emotions, based upon country, based upon, all these emotional factors. But when you start looking at the broader global system, it operates on trade and resources. And what better place to manipulate a system than the continent of Africa, which has just about every natural resource that you could ever need in order to survive. So you start seeing these things, you start understanding just the history. When I went to Nigeria, I love Nigeria. The only problem I had in Nigeria was this, and I'm gonna run this video. I'm running all these videos. I'm telling you, it's so much content. It's like my team is looking at me like I got some videos about to air tonight, from Kenya. I got a wonderful video that I'm doing with the Junior Flips team who went with us on to Ghana. But back to Nigeria. When we were in Nigeria and we went out to Badagry, and that journey to Badagry, and the Badagry, oh man, going to Badagry was one perilous. That's the first thing. But when we got there, we went to this place. It was supposed to be, I guess, like a slave holding place. But really what it ended up being was a mausoleum to the slave trader, to the one who was doing the slave trade. I forget his name, something Williams, Sabas Williams, something like that. And so I was sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, now why am I here at this dude's spot? And he was the one trading everybody. I was like, nah. So I hit my guy up. You'll see it in the video. And I even showed a picture of the where the family apologized for what dude did. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, I'm not bringing nobody here, unless they say I really want to go to the slave trader memorial. I'm like, I'm not bringing anybody here because it I mean, it really is. It wasn't in all of that to even see anyway. Now maybe from a historical perspective of somebody doing research and you want to do that might be good. I just didn't. Me personally, and the other part about in Nigeria when you would go down to I guess the place where they would ship everyone out, it's kind of like this half built structure, and it just wasn't really in the beach was just filthy. It was just that part right there. I was like, they need to tighten this up if they want to attract people to come here to this particular area for that reason, because it doesn't offer a good presentation at all if somebody wants to go and they're looking for that aspect of history. And then they had Tinubu Square for Madame Tinubu, and she was another slave trader. And so I was asking my guy, I said, y'all, I said, I'm trying to figure out how y'all turn these villains into heroes every time. Well, they changed and they turned their life around. I said, yeah, but what about all the people that they like had killed and enslaved and all of that? I said, George Washington and all them, they tell us to do the same thing in America, and Thomas Jefferson, and he was, anyway. So either how do they now become heroes? They did do that over in East Africa with Tipu Tip as well. And I went to one hotel, they had the Tipu Tip room. I said, I'm not staying in that room. That's the equivalent of staying in the Hitler room. I mean, the literal equivalent of staying in the Hitler room. But when you understand the history, then you can come back and you can say, okay, this is because you get revisionist history on both sides. You got this stuff that we got going on over here in America where they're just trying to erase stuff. But then if you don't know your stuff over in Africa and you get one of those tour guides who's not sharp and not on their game, then they'll tell you something and you'll be like, oh, well, it wasn't that bad. And it wasn't this, that, and the other. And no, they didn't participate. And this one didn't do. And that one didn't do. And it's like, hey, listen, we got to understand that in each part of the continent, slavery wasn't the same on each part of the continent. So when people, slavery in Africa, well, wait a minute, you're talking about thousands of different ethnic groups who had different forms of slavery. It wasn't all the same kind of slavery. The deals that they were working with, the people that they were trading with, it wasn't all the same deal. It's just like going to California and dealing with somebody with a Cali vibe who's very different from somebody in New York who has a New York vibe. And the trade was just very different. East Africa trade was very different from West Africa. And you had chattel slavery. Then you had the trans-Saharan slave trade. And of course you had the East African slave trade that most people don't know about. So it's so complex and so layered, but for me, coming back is almost like I'm able to understand the context of what happened, and I can see it clearly, and I can see the results of it now, and I can see how it's still at play today. And again, had I not gone, then I'd be sitting around, well, this is what they say. This is what they say. And even now, when people try to come tell me certain things, I'm saying, well, have you been? No, I read a book and I read so-and-so book. Okay, well, I'm glad you're reading the book, but I think you might want to go over there. I'm going to run a video very soon about my experience at Fort Jesus in Mombasa in Kenya. Now, what set this up, I didn't know there was a Fort Jesus in Kenya. But when I went to Mombasa, it was like, okay, so where do I need to go? Oh, go to Fort Jesus. Oh, Fort Jesus, eyebrow goes up. Fort Jesus. All right, I'm already okay, what's the deal with Fort Jesus? So Fort Jesus was built by the Portuguese. I was like, this is starting to sound familiar. Here's the connection. I go back to Ghana and I'm looking at Elmina, built by the Portuguese. There were other forts and dungeons. You had Axum and Apollonia. The Dutch had their involvement going on. Cape Coast, the British had theirs going on. I said, but here I am all the way in East Africa, and the Portuguese pop up again in Kenya. But when I was in Zanzibar, the Portuguese were in Zanzibar as well. So I'm saying, And I said, they called it Fort Jesus. I said, well, what? So the first thing that they told us was that um, this fort was not used in the trading of slaves. I said, okay. So I'm going with this. I said, this sounds really odd. Portuguese involved. The Portuguese were the first to come to the party. Angola, I said, they just didn't operate like with a very fair system. But let me hear this out. You gotta see this video. That you gotta see how this worked out. So the guy told us, said, well, look, what the Portuguese did was they came in and they built the fort using local labor. Red flag. I was like, oh, okay. And they were paid with food. I was like, oh, okay. Well, paid with food. Okay. We're in Africa, people starving. So I guess, that makes sense in my modern context. Then about 20 minutes into the tour, I said to myself, why do indigenous people need to be paid with food? I was it just couldn't shake me. I said, these people weren't starving. They were not starving. These people were fine. What are we talking about? They're on the ocean. They're on the ocean. So, okay. So I asked, I said, well, why were people who were indigenous to this place needing food? And he looks at me. And he says, well, the Portuguese were bringing, special goods from around. I'm thinking by the time they come from Portugal and around, half of this stuff's probably spoiled because, East Africa is far. You got to go around. There was no Suez, no man-made Suez Canal for them to go through. They had to go all the way around the whole thing of Africa, the thing of Africa, right? The continent of Africa, and come to this point in Kenya for them to bring this food that these people needed so they could build this Fort Jesus. I said something doesn't sound right. So when I hit him with the question about the indigenous, he stopped. He said, well, actually, it was by force. I said, oh, really? I said, by force. I said, that sounds like slavery to me. He said, yep. I said, because if it's by force. And I said, but food. I said, so what? I said, for real, what did the people do? He said they were fishermen. I said, so really, they didn't need the food. No, they didn't need the food. I was like, So then we were walking around a little bit more because it felt just like Fort Apollonia, Fort Axum, Elmina Dungeon. It felt just like it. The cannons, the vibe, everything. And I was like, yeah, this is, I smell a rat. Maybe the people were talking to me from, saying, hey, look, it's a rat. It's a lie. It's a lie. So then the next question I asked them, I said, well, because I'm, Fort Jesus, like, why Fort Jesus? So I said, well, where was the church? He said, oh, right there. And it was like the foundation was left. And he said, right there in the middle was the pulpit. So I'm thinking to myself, I said, you know what? I said, this stuff keeps getting more and more interesting. So after going through, taking a few pictures and doing that whole deal, walking out, and you got to see this on the video, he finally comes clean. He said, okay, here's the deal. He said, they did not want us he said there used to be pictures showing the slave trade that was happening at Fort Jesus. I said, oh, whoa, okay, I guess confessional time. I guess all that Catholic thing kicked in. He need to go start confessing. So it was like, well, he said, well, the people were feeling bad when they would come. And they wanted the pictures to be taken down. I said, well, who were the people? He said, well, the Europeans, the tourists would come and they didn't want to see that because they would feel bad. I said, was it only the Europeans? He said, no. He said, no, sometimes it would be the Africans too. And they didn't want to see that. He said, then he steps out. He says, all of this used to be a slave trade area. All of that. You see all of that over there. You see that building over there. He just started coming clean with it. And that's what I'm saying. That when you understand the context of the story, people can't sell you wolf tickets and bananas and tailpipes because you're able to say, hey, hold tight. I've seen this same theme recurring over and over and over. I don't need a slave ship when I can see the same theme happening over and over. Then when I hop over to Brazil, when I'm in Brazil, and the same theme is there. So I'm saying, wow. Then I hop over to Savannah. Then I go to Louisiana. I'm seeing the same global theme over and over and over and over. And the reason why this is so important is because what they're trying to do now is to make it seem like it's old and that it's over. They're trying to make it seem like, oh, that's old news. Just let that go. It used to be like that, and it used to be such and such. And I'm saying, do you understand that the same systems are at play right now? The same systems. Now, the Portuguese just got spanked out everywhere they went to by the time the Dutch and the British and the Arabs got them. They just got, the only place they were able to really have a stronghold was in Brazil. Of course, they have Angola and then Mozambique and Sao Tome and Cape Verde and a couple other places, but it's not like how they started out. The two colonizing entities that dominate the continent of Africa right now are the British and the French. And so they dominated economically, and they dominated culturally. They dominated, like when I was in the Francophone countries, what they do in the like in Cote d'Ivoire and Abidjan, I noticed how they embraced a lot of the French culture with the cigarette smoking, and you don't see that so much in the British colonies, because that's the kind of like the French culture. They do that thing, they whoop, whoop, light up and everything, and that's just kind of like that culture that is not indigenous to Cote d'Ivoire, but it's something that was picked up. I haven't been to Senegal to know, but some, one positive aspect of what they had in Cote d'Ivoire was that the food was banging. I'll tell you that much. That African French, that Francophone food thing was on point. So I had no complaint. Y'all tell them a foodie is like everywhere I go, I talk about the food. But these are things that I would be sitting at home speculating about. But when I'm there on the ground, there's nothing. I mean, going from Axum and that's Axum Fort Axum in Ghana, out in the western area, and then going over to Fort Jesus in Kenya, and then going to the fort in Zanzibar in East Africa and Tanzania. And then going to Egypt. And I think Egypt is what really, Egypt brought it all together, because in Egypt, you still have evidence of pre-colonial existence. I know you have pre-colonial existence in a sense in different parts of Europe, but on the continent, I was able to see pre-colonial infrastructure, pre-colonial architecture, pre-colonial artwork, artifacts. And when I was able to see that, there was a level of purity that came with it. And then what I was able to do in Egypt, this is why you got to go with me to Egypt. And this is why you won't get the okie doke stuff when you go to Egypt, because this is how we're going to break it down. We got Tanzania, Egypt, and Ghana. But in particular, what happened in Egypt, I was able to see, if you will, the indigenous and then the pollutions that came along. And the pollutions that came along when you had the Greco-Roman era, when you had the Roman Catholics come in and they imposed Catholicism and basically demonized what the Egyptians were doing. And then, that's how you began to see the culture erasure, if you will. And then when the Roman Catholics and the Romans, when they lost, and then you had the Arabs come in, and the timelines, I'm just kind of giving you just some of this. So you had that happen, then you had the Arabs come in, and then when the Arabs came, they imposed Islam. And so just to be clear, Islam did not impose itself, okay? Because some people, well, Islam didn't do anything. You're right. The Arabs did. So the Arabs came in, and they continue, and so at every turn, though, you would always find where religion would be involved. Every single turn, and you would always see war. It would be war and religion. And so when people say, well, oh no, peace and this, that, and the other, and I'm saying, yeah, maybe that's what it says, but the people who are, who are in control of it, they don't practice whatever it's saying there. They go and they would use whatever, swords, guns, spears, bombs, whatever they need to do in order to impose their particular religion. And when that happens, it's like it casts a spell on the people, and it creates a behavior change. So what I saw, when you see the pyramids, and you see all these statues, and I had my thoughts about that. That's kind of like vanity. So I saw some of those old Egyptian statues. Like, well, Ramses II really loved himself, I tell you. But you still saw, and I always focus back on the people, and I went back to the people, and how the people, who those people were that were building. Then, so you saw the Greco-Roman temple. I said, now, why we got this temple here? Is this Greco-Roman temple with Egyptian hieroglyphics and all this other kind of stuff on the wall. So I'm thinking it's, because I'm looking at it now. Most people, when they go to places like Egypt, they go, ooh, look, ooh, but they're not looking at what's happening. Then I went to one temple in Luxor, and they had the Europeans up on the wall. I mean, they've engraved themselves on this particular wall. I was like, wow. Then went to another temple in Aswan, the one that they moved out of the water. And you could tell by now what you have, this Coptic Christianity, Catholicism type thing coming in. And now they started erasing what the Egyptians had done. So you start seeing the change. And this is a must, and this is a part of the tour that we're going to do. You must go to the Nubian Museum in Aswan. A lot of people go to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo because that's the money maker. That's that money maker, shake that money maker. That's what that is right there. And a lot of great things in it. A lot of you need to do that one too, because there's a lot in there. But you get a context in Aswan that you're not going to get anyplace else. And whoever put that Nubian Museum together, they did it right. And they walked you through the timeline, and you began to see certain things. I remember, now I think the thing that shocked me the most was how colonized the Coptic church was. That shocked me, because I kept saying, I want to go to the Coptic church. I heard that's like one of the first ones. That's one of the real ones. That's one of the, I want to go there. I went to the one in Ethiopia and was shocked. I said, but maybe here in Egypt, and Coptic means Egypt. I said, maybe here in Egypt, I can go see something different. I went up in the Coptic church, and I was like, wow. Again, you begin to see this colonized thing happening, and you now begin to ask questions about, now, what's the role of religion in this, and what's the role of war? What's the role of all of these different things? How did this stuff get distorted? How did this stuff happen? Because you see, again, when you're looking at the timeline, you see the brown faces. Then you begin to see, as obviously as the conquest begin to happen, you begin to see that change. And now you look and say, wow, okay, so this is what happened here. But then you see the same pattern happening all over the continent with the same players. You see the Roman Catholics, the Portuguese, you see the Anglicans with the British, and you see the Arabs. And that's why you see in many of the areas, especially in northern Africa, and then part of Africa that's right below the Saharan desert, you begin to see that mixed Catholicism, Anglican, and then you see Islam, and you see this mix all kind of throughout, but none of those are indigenous to those areas. So then I start asking questions, and people don't like when you ask questions. I had one dude, he got upset because I started asking questions. That's an unintelligent question. I'm like, Negro, sit down. So it's like, I was like, well, one question I asked, I said, well, what happened to the people? Now, I understand how people, there are wars that we don't even know about. There's civilizations we don't even know about existed, and they were just wiped out, whether it be by plague or by war or whatever. And a lot of times what will happen is, in order to survive, people have to join the people who conquered them, and thus wiping out their culture. So culture erasure is not something that's new to modern history. It's happened throughout over time. But I was just wondering, I said, what happened to these brilliant people who built these pyramids and built this stuff and with precision? Some people said aliens. Some people did tell me that the aliens built the pyramids, and there were other people who told me that they just disappeared, and that's just the way that it is. In my mind, that I can just go with that, but I'm a contextual person, and I need to know context. It's a little deep for some people sometimes, because like just too deep. Why don't you just let it go? Well, guess what? I'm just gonna be too deep. But it's like I kept thinking to myself. I said it's recurring theme. I said, so when I go to West Africa and I go to Ghana, it's the Catholics and the Arabs again. I said, these crusades that these people had. I said, this thing was a little bit deeper than just, they just had crusades, and they're probably trying to spread their gospel or their religion, and they're trying to spread the whatever. This thing went a lot deeper than that. And this stuff was actually very sinister on many levels. And you begin to see how, like, if you go to northern Ghana is almost like a different country from southern Ghana. It's just a very different vibe. Very cool. I mean, it's a cool vibe. It's just very different from southern Ghana. And you see that with many countries. Sierra Leone has a very, when I was in Sierra Leone felt like a combination of Ghana and Zanzibar. That's what it felt like. I was like, I feel like I'm in Ghana and Zanzibar. And the reason being is that it's an English-speaking West African country, but heavily Islamic, like Zanzibar. And it had that same kind of vibe to it, even though it's a little bit more of a mix than Zanzibar as far as religion is concerned. But you just kind of, these are just little pieces of this whole thing that you start feeling, and you're like, okay, there's more to this story. And again, when I went to Cape Coast Dungeon I got all these interviews. I'm telling y'all, I got so much stuff. Cape Coast Dungeon in Ghana, and that was built by the British. And on top of it, then you have the Anglican church in there. And I said, wow, who would even want to have church in this stuff? Who would even want to have a church in this environment? What was going on in their mind? But then I started thinking about the KKK and how the KKK operates. But it's not just the KKK, y'all. It's not just the KKK. See, the KKK is outward with it. Like if you go to some of those Roman Catholic places, they wear the hoods just like the KKK. They wear the hoods. They put that stuff on, and you would think that you are the Klan rally for real. And that's why you gotta keep digging and understanding the origins. What I hope to do is to get people to start searching for the origins of why we do what we do. Most of us don't know why we do what we do. We just do because somebody else said, this is what you should do. You should do this. And we do it. Mama and them told me I should do it. Grandmama and them told me I should do it. My teachers told me I should do it. Sister so-and-so told me I should do it. Father so-and-so said I should do it. But we don't go any further back to say, well, how did these systems come into play? How did all of this evolve? And then what we'll do is we'll go get educated by the very people who are not going to tell us the whole story. So that's what I'm saying. When I was in Egypt, I took my tour guide to task. He said, man, he said, turn the camera off. he said, turn the camera off. I said, okay. He said, man, you asking me questions we talk about behind the scenes, me and the other tour guides, because we wanted the same things. He said, they didn't tell me you were coming on this tour. I said, well, hey, man, I just got questions. I said, I'm here. And I said, some questions I ask you, I may know the answer, but my audience might not know the answer. So I'm not going to come here and just start, I'm going to ask you to see if you know the answer to this question. And so so actually he handled a lot of them pretty well. And, he eventually said to me, he said, you know what? He said, I'm Muslim. He said, I don't know the difference between Catholicism and the Coptic Church. He said, I don't know the difference. He said, I'm a Muslim. He said, I don't know. He said, because I started asking, well, what's the difference between this? And he finally said, I don't know. And that was fair. That was fair because now for him, he might need, I told him, I said, look, I said, if you're going to be doing these tours, you need to know this stuff. I said, at least to be able to teach the people this stuff, or at least give them something to think about. I said, because otherwise they're going to come here and get this watered down stuff that y'all telling everybody. They're going to feel good. They're going to go back home. Ooh, we went to Egypt, and then not coming here worse off than they came. I said, so come on. He said, no, I got it. And he appreciated when it was time for me to leave. He hugged me so tight. He was like, man, I hope to see you again. I said, you will. The other thing that he did, I said, I want to go to the Nubian village. Y'all getting all the juice tonight. I said, I want to go to the Nubian village. And so he took me and he said, yeah, we're going to take you to the Nubian village. That's where the dark-skinned people are. I said, yeah, okay. All right. He says, he's going to get on the boat and we're going to take you there. It's going to be like paradise. Okay, cool. I'm with you. I'm tracking. So we get down to this spot he called the Nubian village. He said, this is where we all come to go see. So I'm looking at, I guess, northern Egyptians. That may be a better way to say it. It's down the Nile River, almost in Sudan. I get off this joint, and first thing start happening, people start peddling. And, it's just, I mean, it definitely got, more melanin. He said, we're going to go to the house and we're going to sit down and have the tea. And we're going to do this, that, and the other. And the crocodile is going to be in it. Oh, okay. All right. So as we're walking to this house, I mean, it's nothing but vendors everywhere. I thought I was at the Art Center in Ghana. I was like, what is going on? I said, I thought we were going to somebody's house to have some tea and sit down and talk Nubian. I thought this was about to happen. So I look at the people who are working in these shops, and I said, these people working in these shops aren't Nubian. I said, y'all jokers done came down here and set up shop in this place and got a little manufacturing hub selling Chinese stuff down here, faking out the people. And I'm looking at all of the different people who are all the different tourists. So they're from Europe, and I met two wonderful ladies from Spain. They were so nice. They were like, Jay, keep living the dream, keep doing your thing. I said, I'm going to. I said, don't worry. I said, I'm going to. I said, now if you tune into my channel, I said, sometimes I'm a little rough on, them colonizers. But I said, but hey, but it's not a racial thing. It's a colonizing thing. But when I was there, I was like ready to leave as soon as I got there. But I went with it. I'm learning to go with the flow of things because I'm learning something. I'm looking at these dudes, these Arab dudes in here selling, acting like it felt like? It felt like parts of DC. I said, wow. I said, these jokers infiltrate everywhere and set up shop everywhere. I said, they were like, would you like to buy something? I said, I don't want to buy anything. I didn't say I said, nope. I sat down, drank a little tea, went to the Nubian house. They were really nice. The crocodile was in there acting crazy. I said, I don't need let them act crazy. I don't need to hold them. I don't need to do anything. I said, I'm sitting here. Tea tastes good. I said, but no, I don't need any herbs. I don't know. Nope, I'm good. So when I was leaving, I said, hey, look, I said, that's not that right there. That's not a Nubian village right there. I said, that's a commercial hub for tourism. And I understand that people need to make money. I said, I'm not mad at that. I said, but I need to get to the real people. He said, I got you. He said, I'm going to make a call. I said, I need to be able to talk to someone because everybody is telling me that there's extreme racism towards the Nubians, with the people, the dark-skinned people. And I need to talk to some dark-skinned people to find out if they are being discriminated against here in Egypt. He said, I got you. I said, all right. I said, that'll make my trip. I said, I'll be happy and I can go back and leave in peace. So he worked it out the next day and he got me to a real Nubian village with some real Nubian people. And I was able to do a real Nubian interview and sit down in the house and have the conversations and do what needed to be done. So this is what I'm saying. Like when you go on my tours, then we're not doing that jive place. I'm telling you, like we are not going to the okie doke stuff. Because you just can't, that I just can't do it. I have no problem with people making money and earning a living, but I also know pimps when I see them. And one of the things I felt when I was in Egypt, I felt a strong pimpery going on because I thought Nigeria and Ghana had a hustle thing happening, but that Cairo, Egypt, they got something else going on that I had to pull on all of everything. I had to pull on my inner Nigerian. I had to pull on my DC hood from the 80s. I had to pull on all of that. And I still loved it. How about that? But I had to pull on all of that to navigate that thing. But I say that to say that the danger in not understanding the context of the story is that you will believe just this one thing that we have been told. And I now know better. I think me personally, I know that when I go places, I know I'm always, my antennas are up. I don't put them down and just believe what I'm being told. My antennas are up, and I'm saying, all right, what's good? What's really happening here? Because otherwise, I will walk away from I'll walk away from something like that, thinking that I've done something. And I mean, I took all the pictures at the pyramids on the camels, and I was on the ATV. I got all the sexy stuff, all that stuff that everybody go there for. I got all of that. But I said I could not come this far across the world, spend this money to be here, and walk away from here empty, other than just getting tourism rocks off. That's here's something that I'd heard for so long that, man, those people were trying to wipe off the people who were originally there. They knocked the noses off of the people, and they knocked the noses off of the sphinxes and the statues and everything. While I saw a few, that did have the noses knocked off, I saw just as many that didn't. That could have easily had the noses knocked off. And I was like, now, isn't this interesting? When I said, well, it would seem to me if they were really, really trying to wipe all of that out, when I went into the different tombs, they would have made sure to change those brown people to a different color. That would have been a really good way of going about erasing something. And I'm not saying they didn't knock the noses off for that reason, but it just wasn't in abundance like what I was expecting. It really looked like erosion, like over time. That was the part that was sticking out, and it just kind of eroded. That's what it looked like. But then you had different inhabitants. So it could have been anyone who was there. It could have been some mad Arab that came through. Pow, let me knock it off. Some mad European come through. Pow, let me knock it off of somebody who was mad at the particular person. And knocked it off. But it was not that thing where everywhere you went, it was like, yeah, they were trying to erase who these people were. As a matter of fact, it was really to the contrary, because I knew who these people were. I got it. I saw, touch the hair texture. I saw what was going on. And that was, again, seeing for myself. So what the other part of the 6 months, the wonderful cuisines that I've had the opportunity to eat. Do I have a favorite place? As far as food, I mean, Ghana. I think Ghana has the food, and I'm thinking back to South Africa. I'm thinking of Nigeria. I'm thinking Sierra Leone. I'm going to Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire has some food, nice food too. But they're right there next to each other. I mean, they're like, really take that border out of there, and they're like one. I'm going back. Egypt has some nice food too. Kenya, Nairobi in particular. You know what Nairobi reminded me of, and it's probably why a lot of people from America moved to Nairobi. It had a very Atlanta-esque kind of vibe. It was a very contemporary kind of city. It just had that kind of vibe to it. Internet was great. It just really felt Atlanta-esque. The roads weren't particularly bad, but the traffic was serious. So it still had an African vibe to it, but it still had that Atlanta skyscraper. I was even thinking Charlotte, but it still kind of had like an Atlanta vibe to it. I was thinking, Charlotte, Atlanta, right on that 85 corridor. So it could have been a Charlotte vibe, but it didn't have a country vibe. It had kind of like a Atlanta, and depending on what part of Atlanta you go to, you can get that. But it just had kind of an Atlanta vibe. So I think a lot of people moved there because of that. But Kenya had a real nice, it had a very diverse kind of culture and community. So you saw people, we met a couple of people from Spain there. So it's like you met a lot of people in Nairobi that you might not meet in, say, Oh no, you would meet them in Lagos too. Yeah, but it Lagos was just busy, 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 busy. But everybody was exceptionally nice. Everyone was just nice. That was Lagos. Maybe I didn't go to the place where the people weren't nice. Sorry, but my experience, the people were nice. But I'm not naive. I know everybody's not nice. I grew up in DC, so I know how that goes. Um, man, it's just so much. I have videos from the markets in Nigeria, and you'll be able to see how the people are. You'll be able to see. It's not something you just got to take my word for it. It's when you're enriched by something, then it is what it is. And the past year was enriching, and I just want people to have that experience. That's why you keep seeing me talk about it time and time and time again, because I know what's over there. And when people come with me, I can only speak for me. I can't. When people come with me, I pay attention to certain things to make sure that people have a certain kind of experience. I can't speak for anybody else, but I know that when they come with me, I've already thought through certain aspects of it. I've thought through the details, what emotion somebody's going to feel like when you climb down into that pyramid. You're going to feel a lot of different emotions. You're going to feel a lot of things. First thing you're like, whoa, I'm really down in this thing. you know, like I know you. So you going backwards, climbing into it, but it's an unforgettable experience. It's just like when I went to the Egyptian wedding, and everybody wanted to make sure I understood. Those aren't the real Egyptians. Those aren't the real Egyptians. Those people are such and such and such and such. Okay, they're there now. So I'm here. They're human beings. So I'm going to go to this event and be among these people and see how nasty they treat me. And so, and that wasn't my experience. Next thing they want to say, well, because you're a Black American and they're going to treat you differently and such, 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 such. Okay, well, maybe that's the case. I don't know. I don't know. I just know my experience. And they welcomed me. They sat me down. They fed me. They allowed me to come to crash a wedding reception, dance with them and everything else. And if that's what it is because I was Black American, then, hey, at least somewhere in the world it happens, because, you might not have that same reception in America as a Black American, because they might be pulling up and say, hey, what you doing here? And I'm not talking about going to white people's thing. I'm talking about you roll up on the wrong Black wedding, folks gonna be looking at you like, what you doing here? What's up? So, hey, I'm just saying. So, when you have those types of experiences, you take that with you. And that was something that was unscripted. It was unplanned. When, if I'm blessed to have great grandchildren and to see and meet and talk to them, then I'll tell them those stories. If not, then they have this video. They can go back and watch it. They can say, well, granddaddy, what was he talking about? But again, I think that what's so important with all of this is making sure that we don't get caught in this trap. And what you're going to see me doing, I didn't go over to these places just for the sake of going over. I went over to get this information for people who want it. Everybody doesn't want it, but for people who want it, I'm going to bring. That's what I got. A lot of people, they were laughing because they said, well, how many phones do you have? I got a bunch of phones because, them iPhones can rock the video. They can get some things done. I needed something compact that I could get this information. I get these interviews. I interviewed so many people, met so many wonderful people, that if I stayed home last year, if I stayed home gripped with fear because I didn't know what was over there, what was going on, and I didn't know if the Rona was going to get me going here, there, if I just stayed stuck because I didn't know, then I would have missed out, not just for me, but for the youth that we're going to take over in July of next year, July 1st through the 8th. I would have missed out for them, because I was able to go find the places that would be conducive for what they're looking for. I would have missed out on these additional books that I'm going to write. Yeah, I got these books right here, these first three, and I got Kilimanjaro coming on soon. I got it all upside down. Kilimanjaro coming soon. I have Togo, Benin, Sierra Leone, Salvador, Brazil. Of course, I'm going to do one on Nigeria. Of course, I'm going to do one on Kenya. Of course, I'm going to do one on Egypt. That Egypt one is deep. I got to figure out, like with children, you can't get it so deep with it. So I got to figure out how I'm going to do that Egypt one. That Egypt one will probably be a year or so away. But it's like this stuff is priceless, y'all. This is, I mean, I don't know how to say this. This is why when people travel, it educates you in a way that no book can educate you. What books do is they give you intellectual knowledge. They inspire you to go and, try different things or whatever. But there's nothing like breathing the air. It's nothing like me putting that thing on my, no, it's nothing like me smelling that camel. Um, um, and nothing like getting on the back of that camel, that thing standing up, and you're like, whoa, nothing like riding a horse for the first time in Nigeria. And then after that, I think I've rode another horse or whatever. Nothing like being in Nigeria and the storm is coming and in the tour. That's a whole nother story. That's it. Whew. And running up into people's house and not knowing, and them taking care of you. It's nothing like those types of experiences. Sitting down and doing an interview with Stephanie from Color Box. Or Leslie Jones, and she talks about her buying a property, or beachfront property in Ghana, or talking to Daniela Ram in Kenya about her restaurant. Those are things you can't. Or Tansi in Egypt. Those are things that those are priceless moments. Priceless moments. Priceless moments. No one can ever take from me, or whatever your experience is. No one can ever take it from you. But if I never had the experience, I'd be sitting back here speculating. That's what would be happening. I'm in the process now of buying some land in Ghana. I'm buying a condo in Ghana. But I'm also in the process of buying some land, going through the whole due diligence process. I'm not rushing to do anything. I'm not, itching to do anything at all. In the process of a couple other things in Ghana. Ghana's like a base. So that's Ghana's a base. Ghana has definitely welcomed me more than I deserve. I mean, the people of Ghana have done such an outstanding job with their hospitality and welcoming me. I have no second thoughts about Ghana being the base. However, same thing happened from the standpoint of the hospitality in Sierra Leone. And I can't wait to get back to Sierra Leone. I was trying to decide if I was going to go back to Sierra Leone or if I was going to go to Kenya. I had a little window, and since I'd already been to Sierra Leone this year, I'd never been to Kenya, and I was trying to get back over to East Africa because I love East Africa. I mean, I'm telling you what. I'm telling y'all, it's like East Africa, West Africa. I don't think I could live like in Cairo. It's got a lot going on. Cairo's great to visit. It's a great place to visit, but it's there's a lot of history and a lot of knowledge there. So anyway, everybody, listen. Coming up on Friday night, I'm going to break down, and you're going to be seeing me doing a whole lot of these YouTube lives as we get ready for 2022, a lot of videos, balloon rides, all that. I mean, just like I said, I'm just going to let the videos speak for themselves. But what I'm going to break down on Friday is this illusion of independence that these countries, these former colonized countries have, and the illusion of being independent. What prompted it was the whole conversation where it talked about Barbados now becoming a republic and cutting ties with the Queen of England. And that's not true. And so that's the part that I think would be interesting for folks. And this is no slight on anybody from Barbados. This has nothing to do with the people of Barbados or anything. This has everything to do with the smoke and mirrors that the government of Barbados and the UK are trying to spin and make it appear to be something that might not necessarily be the case. I'm going to walk it down. I'm going to explain it to you and give you some timelines, show you some videos, help you to really understand what's happening in Barbados, because what's happening in Barbados is the same thing that happened in Sierra Leone, in Ghana, in the Gambia had a very interesting situation. And I'm only speaking, I think, on Anglophone countries. I'm only speaking of those particular countries because the French never really let go, even though the British didn't either. But the French kind of like have a stranglehold on their colonies because they still control, for the most part, their currencies, and they played a different kind of mind game on their populations than the British did. But but because most of my audience is English speaking, it will, and I that even felt colonized when I said that. When I came out, that felt colonized. But but we got to communicate some kind of way. I don't know what we gonna speak jive talk. I don't know. So it got us all over the place with this. But the same game that was played in Nigeria, in Tanzania, in Kenya, South Africa, of course, and all those different South African countries, Botswana, Namibia, I think Zambia is down there, and I think I said Zimbabwe already, and I think there's Lesotho or so, and so that whole deal in Tanzania, I think I talked about them as well. They all went through this thing, even Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, and somebody else, but they went through this whole process. And when you understand how the tentacles are still in place, then it'll help you understand who, and for my Ghanaian audience, it'll help you understand who you should be really focused on, because what they have masterfully done is hidden behind the independence, meaning the power players have hidden behind independence. And so when that happens, people take their eyes off of exactly who they need to be looking at. And it's some fascinating stuff. But again, this is what happens when you travel. So anyway, that's all I got for tonight. Listen, if you are interested in getting this Friday night, we'll be sending everything out. But make sure you subscribe, because when you subscribe, then you'll get the updates. And also make sure that you pick up these books, because nobody's going to chip away at this misinformation but us. And these are child-friendly books, so there's nothing really controversial in the books or anything like that. But they tell the truth. I mean, these are great. These would be great for libraries. And I am looking to get these in major, when I say major retailers, meaning retailers that can then unload these. By the time this is going to be it may end up being a 54 book series. Who knows? But as many books as we can get, please get the word out. You can go to bit.ly Darren and Destiny bundle. This deal right here, $25 for all three and free shipping. You can't beat that deal right there. And it ends on December 16th. It gives you an opportunity for it to be a great stocking stuffer for those who stock stuffings. Stuffings. Y'all know what I'm saying. Stockings. For those who do that, this will be great. Or if you just want to give it to children in the neighborhood, it doesn't have to be anything. You can take it to school. We've had people who bought 4 bundles because they're like, hey, you know what? I know so-and-so and so-and-so, and I'm going to take it over to the school. I'm going to take it to my church. I'm going to take it over here. I'm going to take it to my fraternity or my sorority. We're going to do all these different things. But what I want to do is to also get them into, and we're working out getting them into the bookstores. Of course, they're on Amazon, but this deal is not on Amazon. So let me be very clear. This deal is not on Amazon. I put it on Amazon just because Amazon is there, and I'm trying to reach as many people as possible. But you can get a better deal at bit.ly Darren and Destiny bundle until December 16, 2021. And then after that, it will go back to regular pricing. But if you're looking to go travel with us, then you go to MaximumImpactTravel.com. You can see the dates coming up. We're going to Tanzania in July, the 17th through the 25th. We're going to Egypt next October, the 8th through the 16th. We got our youth trip going to Ghana happening on July 1st through the 8th. Then we have a bunch of Ghana trips because the one thing I didn't want to do, this is something I heard now, and I'll be done. A lot of people say, well, I've been down to South Africa. South Africa's kind of like the black people's hub. When they want to go to Africa, that's where they go to first. And I love South Africa. I had a great time in in South Africa. And shout out to the Blantons at the real South Africa. They do a great job down there with their tours and everything. Took great care of us. So now with but one of the things I want to make sure that doesn't happen, because normally people say, yeah, I went to South Africa, I went to Tanzania, I went to Kenya, and I went to Egypt. And they said, well, I said, have you been to the West? Well, no, I ain't been to the West. And that's by design. That people never think about going to the West. They never think about going, or they think the West, oh, if I go to the West, oh, I don't want to go to Nigeria. Ooh, they got scams and they're crooks, and I don't like them Nigerians. That's what I hear. Oh, the Nigerians. And I got the Nigerian. I said, these Nigerians are not so bad after all. What you talking about? Now, I understand. I understand where some of that may be coming from. But when you understand the context of what's going on in Nigeria, you understand why many Nigerians are very aggressive. And I'm not mad at, now I appreciate the Nigerian hustle, because I see when you got 200 million people and you got to survive, you got to do what you got to do. And then you come to a country like America where jokers laying around waiting for checks to come. They're like, man, whatever, what? I'm gonna go to community college. I'm gonna become a doctor. I'm gonna come own the thing. I'm gonna own the joint. I'm gonna own everything. And that's how I cannot be mad at that. How can I be mad? And they will step right in front of you while you standing there piddling around, moping and groping and waiting on something. They're like, man, shoot, bump that. We're gonna go get what we need to get. And that's just how they roll. I mean, who can be mad at that? I mean, maybe people getting left behind or whatever. Maybe very direct or whatever, but you can be direct too. So it's, that's what I'm saying. I've learned to appreciate these different aspects of it. And but when it comes to going to places like Ghana and seeing that aspect of it, it's almost like when you go to Ghana and you really go with the right type of guide and the type of company, I should say, you can walk away with an understanding of some things, and then you can tie it all together, and then you can say, oh, so this is what happened in Tanzania. Okay, so like when you go to Tanzania, you get a dose. When you go with me to Tanzania, you get a dose of everything. You're gonna see the elephants. I promise you're gonna see elephants. You ain't got to worry. But then you get to see that Indian Ocean, you get to Zanzibar and everything that's going on there. It's like I want you to be able to turn up and party and have a good time, but then also don't leave there empty, and so you get all of it. That's what we look to do. We curate the types of experiences where you get all of it. And so you go to Tanzania, you get all of it. You go to Egypt, you get all of it. You go to Ghana, you get all of it. When we put our Nigerian tour together, you get all of it. That's why it's taking us a little bit longer for Nigeria, because Nigeria is so massive from the standpoint of things to do. I need to go back and see a couple of more places so that when we put this tour together, because Nigeria is not a touristy kind of place. Nigeria is like a place you go and like if you want that 5-star experience, and if you want to go see some fashion and some that vibe, if you want to go, then that's what Nigeria is good for. So I just need to spend a little bit more time there and really get into the Nigerian culture. With Kenya, we're actually looking at doing Kenya Rwanda. So see, I threw a new name in y'all didn't see coming, Kenya Rwanda, because Tanzania and Kenya are so similar. I couldn't do Tanzania and Kenya together because somebody coming on tour like, well, okay, I saw an elephant in Tanzania. I saw an elephant in Kenya. What's going on? Nairobi offers something different than Dar es Salaam, and different from Kilimanjaro and Arusha and Stone Town and all that, in Zanzibar. It's just a different kind of vibe. So that's how we're looking to do it. We're looking to pick 10 destinations on the continent And meaning 10, when I say destination, meaning we might combine 2 countries and that'll make, that'll be a part of the 10. So we're going to definitely do Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire together. You got to get that Cote d'Ivoire experience, that Abidjan, Accra experience. So that's coming. We are looking at Dakar. We are looking at Senegal. So that's soon as things open up a little bit more. We are looking at Cameroon. We got a lot of folks with the DNA with the Cameroon coming down the pike. So we might do Nigeria, Cameroon. And so that's all in the play. So, and folks, I hear y'all with the folks say, well, South Africa, what's up with South Africa? I'm having conversations. I'm trying to work that out for you. So so we're just gonna have a ball on the continent. That's all I can say. Turn Up Crew, the Fun Bunch from the people that we took not too long ago, they're already ready to lock down. They're going to be, the Turn Up Crew is already, they've already said, we're going to Tanzania in July. They're already like, look, it's done deal. It's a wrap. So the Turn Up Crew, and that's the folks that you saw with the interview, the 11 people that you saw. So they're ready. And many of them are saying, hey, look, they're excited about going. And then also some of the folks from the Fun Bunch, but then, others are looking to go as well. So we're going to have a great time on the continent, and I would love for you to be a part of it. All right, so listen, that's it for tonight. Make sure you please take advantage of this bundle, subscribe, like, share, and I'll be back on the air likely tomorrow because there's so much more I could have said, but I won't. I will end it right there. All right, make sure y'all get that bundle. Take care, be safe. Talk to you soon.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with daring and destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with daring and destiny.